Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. My name is Lori Lytle, and I'll be hosting today's call. So, for those of you who are new on Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday, what Training Thursday is more of a QA type of an experience for our trainings. So what I would like you to do is open up the question area in GoToMeeting, and that's where you'll send questions my way, and I can answer them for you. So at the beginning right now, let me know what company you're from. Open up that question area. What part of the country? Let me know what state you're in. We address different things, and this helps me understanding the different demographics of the people on the call. So open up your question area. Please let me know if where you're from, what company, as well as what state you're in. So if you could go ahead and do that for me, that'd be wonderful. Also, South Carolina, okay. Once you hit East Coast there, John, I understand stamp taxes, things like that. So if you have any questions when you're coming into the fee area, let me know and we can start addressing those because I know East Coast is a little bit different. And to let you know, we're in Irvine, our corporate office in California. So with that, Massachusetts, another East Coast. Welcome, Elliot. So with that, let's go ahead and start today's presentation. One of the things we're going to work on today is the annual mortgage review. And with an annual mortgage review, you're able to reach out to your past clientele with an annual mortgage review and then provide them with either, if it's a good idea, to refinance, or maybe it might not be at this point in time, but you're the trusted advisor and you'll be able to provide this to your clientele. So welcome, Betty, down in Florida. Got a couple of Eagle people on here. Great. So with that, we're going to go ahead and develop it. So not only, I have my iPad up here. We're going to work with that. So what we're going to develop is a current mortgage, and we're going to compare it just with a refinance of a 30-year product. So with that, what we're going to do is also take that same product. I'm going to show you how to copy that refinance, copy that exact same product, and then we're going to be able to show a reinvestment of that savings. So we could show them how they'd be able to pay off that loan faster. So you can see that at the bottom line, if they stay on the current path for a current mortgage, a little over 27 years, start off new, 30, but if they make that same payment with that reinvestment, they dropped it down to a little over 24 years. So that's a great savings there. And we want to show them a 15-year mortgage. So when we develop that, we'll talk about the current mortgage, develop that fixed refi product, and then we're going to dive into the analysis screen so we can show you how you can work the reinvestment, and then how to create a third product, again using that copy feature to develop the 15-year. So that's what we're going to work on today. We're also going to dive into, once we create the report, we're going to dive into different areas like the short-term area, understanding these numbers and what they represent. So we're going to be diving into understanding the report a little bit more in the mobile reinvestment, as well as working on that current mortgage. So what I would like you to do is open up your Edge account, your Mortgage Coach Edge account, and follow along and develop this presentation with me. So with that, what we want to do is log into Edge. And before we start our presentation, what I want to do is point out our Help button. With the Help button, it will open into a new web page. But this is a great way to find questions. So you can always email us at support@mortgagecoach.com, and this will, you can email us with any questions at all, or you can use this as support desk. So with that, say I had a question on mortgage insurance. So if I put in mortgage insurance in my search engine, if I could spell, there we go. You can see that when it will come up with many video tutorials, frequently asked questions surrounding mortgage insurance. So this is a quick way for you to be able to, especially if it's the evening or on the weekend, get your questions answered just by using that search engine. Also want to point out real quick, so those of you who are new on the call, we do have many additional trainings. We have an event calendar, so if you go to Help, you're in our support page. If you click on the event calendar, this will take you to all the trainings we do offer. We offer our Mortgage Coach University for the first 3 weeks of the month. We have our Training Thursday. We also have Mobile Wednesday. So to get familiar with the mobile device and the mobile app, attend the Wednesday call. It is live. It's different each week. So this helps you get familiar on how to present with your mobile. And then to just understand a little bit more, we do have that intro to Mortgage Coach. So if it's first time you're working today on creating a presentation, maybe on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, attend that intro training. It really divides that in-depth understanding of this creating a basic presentation. So now to go ahead and we're going to start our annual mortgage review, what I want you to do is click on New Client. Clicking on New Client is going to allow you to start this presentation. So with that, let's go ahead. I'm opening one. I have it pre-built, but not all of it's built, so we could work together on creating those products. So with this, there's a couple things you could do. You can create a master template just to be able to have a sample presentation on file. To do that, you'll see at the very top individual marketing. It just provides a report headline. So this is a great way of just being able to have a sample presentation of an annual mortgage review to be able to show people, to be able to see what you could provide them. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. So it's not only annual mortgage review, but it's for what borrower. So I went ahead and customized that a little bit, make it more personal for that particular person. If you have a partner or a loan assistant, something that you want them to receive those email alerts, you can put their email address in there. And then friendly name field. Friendly name field is just a great reference name. So when you're doing searches, you'll be able to find which presentation you're working on. And if you're working in the open house presentations, definitely use that friendly name field. Put the property address in there because there is a copy feature, and you don't want to have to key in the realtor's information each time. So use that copy. This would tell you which property it would be for. So friendly name fields, reference. Want to point out we're not doing a purchase. You can go ahead and identify different goals, but I'm just showing you a quick way of creating the presentation. So I'm actually just bypassing the screen altogether because I'm going to be doing a refinance. So with this screen, all I'm doing is putting in today's purchase price, the property value. So I'm going to say it is at $250,000 now. You'll see that on the original loan it was at $200,000 when we go into the next screen. And after we key in the current mortgage details, we're going to come back and talk about these fields a little bit more. But first, let's key in, go into the next screen. Let's key in that current mortgage, and then we'll come back to this screen and talk about these fields a little bit more. So when I advance the screen, now we're going to discuss our current mortgage details. This type of information you should already know. It should be in your LOS or maybe from your first loan quote. You'd be able to know what that first payment date, what their original loan amount was, interest rate, term. So you'll be able to put that information in as long as they haven't applied any additional amounts to principal, this will be your remaining balance. So you can see how we could calculate that rather quickly. So with that, want to point out also the P&I payment down at the base. Because we're working on an annual mortgage review, some of that refinance information you would know because it is your past client. If you don't have this information and maybe you're working on a new client and not quite sure of the details, but you definitely know that P&I payment, the way to be able to work, to be able to change that to match the P&I payment the borrower provided you, maybe they're not sure of that interest rate. So let me go ahead and let's just reduce it to 4.5, and you can see how the P&I changes. So you'll be able to work with these figures to be able to find the P&I that the borrower quoted, because a lot of times they might know the original loan amount, term, not sure about that interest rate. So with that, let's go ahead and put it back at 4.625. It recalculated the information. And so now you can see how you can just put that information. You can always modify the figures here to be able to get that P&I payment. And say if they had a different remaining balance, that they paid off principal. What you could do, there's a couple things to do. One of those things, all you have to do is just go ahead and override that remaining balance. So say if they did pay down the mortgage, go ahead, override that, and that will be the starting balance or the base loan amount for your new product. So if your remaining balance is different, remember you can always override that field and place the amount that they currently owe. So let's go ahead and calculate this, so I could get it back to the remaining balance, change my figures here. And now what we want to do, this is basically the key in the current mortgage. But if you have also, let's go back to the other screen, and we're going to talk about a different remaining balance field. So we also have a current total payoff. So say you're working with a borrower, and you know that they probably won't fund for a couple months. So the current payoff at that time would be different than what is being calculated based on today's date. So if you have a different outstanding balance, that the current payoff total, you can place it here. And I want to point out, though, if you place a figure in this field, this is what we use for cash to close. We will not use the remaining balance. And a lot of times people, when we see these tickets and their cash to close isn't correct, just take a look. If you have a figure in this current payoff total, just remove it. And then most likely your cash to close will be correct. You can also hover your mouse over that field, and we'll talk about that field a little bit more. So if you're resubordinating a second lien, you want to leave this field blank. So if there's any questions on the current mortgage, current payoff amount, or that remaining balance field, please go ahead and put it, any questions in that question area. Also, if you're working on a current mortgage, if you click this auto update balance, what this will do is keep a running balance. So if we work on this in September, we go back to it in October, it will update that remaining balance because we jumped a month. So it knows it has a payment, and it'll recalculate that remaining balance. So just want to point out, that's what that auto update balance means. It's not going to update any figures in your product. It will only update that remaining balance. So now with that current mortgage, we have our basic details that we've entered. Now we want to enter the monthly cost. So with that, if you have it, you can see that I put in straight dollar figures. So they have $80 for hazard, $150 for taxes. In this particular case, they don't have any mortgage insurance. If you don't know those figures, you can always provide an estimate by just opening up these percentage fields. I'll show you on the MI, and then you can place an estimate. You can always go back afterwards and put in those exact figures if you know them, but for the meantime, you can always place estimates if you don't know those exact figures. If you had a second lien on that first mortgage, just mark it as a yes, and then go ahead and fill out that information on your second lien. I'm going to keep this as only a first, and we're not having a second, but that's how you would go ahead and provide that as a second lien. If you have any questions, if you do a lot of seconds, if you want me to show you how to resubordinate a second, maybe we could do it on the end of the call. Just go ahead and put it in the question area so we'll be able to come back and address that for you. So if you're doing second liens or resubordinating that, go ahead and put it in the question area. We could address those questions at the end. So now we have our current mortgage all complete. So now it's going to be rather quick. We're going to go ahead and move forward to our affordability screen. I'm particularly not going to use this screen on this time, so I'm going to bypass it. Again, we're trying to make this presentation quicker. So I'm going to bypass both affordabilities, and I'm going to go directly to the product. So with the product, we're just going to create a basic refinance scenario. You can see I also have a refi with reinvestment and a 15-year. Both of these two products are empty. So when we develop them, I'm going to show you how you can use that copy feature to make it easy to develop that second and third product. Because many of you do have access to APIs. Maybe you only have one product to show. Bring that one product over and then show reinvestment. So you'll be able to always be able to compare two products, even if you think they only are qualified for one. You can always show an additional product and show them how they can pay down that mortgage quicker. And again, when we go into that analysis screen, we'll go ahead and dive into that a little bit more. So what you want to do is when you first come in here, go ahead and put in the name of your product. We're just going to label this as a refi 30-year, and then mark it as a refi. When you mark it as a refi, you'll notice that your labels are going to change and your number figures are going to be changed as well. It took that outstanding balance in the remaining balance field and brought that over as my base loan amount. So that's just by changing it to refi. These three fields will go ahead and populate based on what you had in that current mortgage. So now what interest rate are you able to provide them? So I went ahead and put a 3.75 and a term of 360. So advancing our screens, we're now going to go ahead and talk about fee templates. So if you have any questions about fees, go ahead and put it in the question area. But what you'll see here on the fee screen, on prepaid interest days, I went ahead and put 15 days. If I hover my mouse over it, you can see that dollar amount. So you always want to put a quote on some type of a number of days. I've seen 5, 10, 15. Some companies quote 30. So it depends what your company quotes. And now what we're going to do is dive into the fees. So you can see how these fees are grayed out. And the reason they're grayed out is because the closing cost detail screen was used. So if I go into the closing cost detail screen, if you go into your drop-down, you'll see fee templates. And I know quite a few of you, I recognize the companies you're with, and you do have fee templates that are built in this area here. So with that, what you would want to do is pull down your fee template, depending on what product you're building, and go ahead and carry it down, and you'll be able to see that fee template. I also want to point out sometimes fee templates that the organization provides you might not be exact for your branch. And if that's the case, all you need to do is once you pull down a fee template, say your appraisal is $475 for your branch and not $450. So you would make any of those updates to the template that you would need to do. And then once you're completed, you'll see at the very bottom, Save as Template. Go ahead and save it as a new template, and this will be in your individual file. So you'll be able to use this again at a later date. So I'm just going to go ahead and put Lori's fee template, and I'm going to go ahead and place today's date on that. So now you'll be able to see that fee template you created is now in that drop-down list. So with that, once you're done, I also want to point out with fees that you could go ahead and, I'm trying to look here, you'll see some fields that might be left empty. And usually that is when, with the title fee, usually with those templates, it's left empty because that field is so variable from loan to loan. So you would want to make sure you go ahead and place that information in if you have a template that is empty. If you need to remove any fees, all you need to do is press that trash can, and it removes it from your drop-down. Once you're done modifying your fees, you just apply to loan, and you'll notice that blue area in the middle area. That's a quick way of being able to provide you a lump sum of how much the borrower, lender, or seller is paying. It also shows your prepaid interest. If you had points, it would show that, as well as any upfront MIP. So you have all that little detailed information on the outer screen right there for you to be able to view. Once you apply it to loan, it saves all those details and places it in the appropriate area here. So that's how you go ahead and apply your fees. And once you're done, you go ahead and go into your monthly cost. Again, because I used a copy, and we'll talk about that in a moment, my monthly cost carried over. And then you can go ahead and use your percent signs if you want to put estimate, just like we did on that first one. You can see I'm under right close to 78%. I don't have an MI. I would work that one, make sure I was under, I guess I'm under 80, so I'm good. So now what you'd want to do is press add another product. So the green button right here, go ahead and add, and now let's develop that refi with reinvestment. So with that, what we could do is go ahead and place that title. And you'll notice that all my data is empty because I deleted all that out so I could show you how you'd be able to use that copy from feature. So we already built that first product, the Refi 30-year. Now we're developing one with reinvestment. So it's going to be an exact same picture as the 30-year Refi, but then we'll use the analysis screen. So let's go ahead and use that copy from button. You'll see all the products that you can have a choice of copying from. We're choosing the 30-year product. With that, I then press OK. And now you see all that data populated down. So I have everything on my first screen carried over, all my fees carried over, as well as my monthly cost. So you can see that's a quick way of being able to go ahead and creating a second and a third and a fourth product just by using that copy from button. You can make any modifications, which we'll do when we create that 15-year product. So that second year was created rather quickly. Now let's create that third one. Again, click on that green button, add another product, put in the title Refi 15-year, and let's use that copy feature again. So copy from, Refi, press OK. But the difference here now is a 15-year term. So we're going to remove the 360 and place 180. And I know you would probably lower that interest rate. I'm just doing 3.5 for now. And then you're done. So I made the adjustment to my interest rate, my term. If I had any fee adjustments, I would modify it there. And I'm done. So I just created those 3 products. We spent a little time on the refinance, but the other 2 are such a quick copy. So anytime you have one product, always, and don't have another product to show, always copy it over and do a reinvestment. And I'll show you just now how we'll be able to do that. So now when you advance the screen, you could, if you wanted to, have a 4th product, but we're going to stop at 3. I'm going to advance my screen. And now what we want to do is go into the adjust reinvestment strategy. So before we do that, let's take a look at our presentation. So I'm going to hover my mouse over presentation and click preview. When you go to the very last screen of preview, you can click on the preview button, and now Nathaniel will explain that one. This one. So with that, this is our presentation that we currently are working on. So you can see that the payment for that 30-year as well as the reinvestment is the same. Our savings is the same. We need to make this reinvestment slightly different. Nathaniel asked, how many products can you place on a presentation? You can always have 4 products. So we currently have 3. You can have 1 more product. And on refinances, you also have that current mortgage, so that's a total of 5. So it's current mortgage plus 4. Rent versus own would be rent plus 4. So we always have 4 products next. So now with our presentation, what we want to do, you'll notice when we go into the analysis screen, we're going to add that additional amount toward principal. And when we do, you'll notice the area between term and payment. Cash out, this area is going to change, and it's going to add another line item showing that principal reduction. What I'm also going to do in the lower right-hand corner, I went ahead and pressed share. I'm taking my link and I'm putting it in the chat area. So if you want to click on that link, you'll be able to have that presentation in front of you, and you can see me drive that presentation as well. So if you want to go ahead and do that, the link is in the chat area, and you'll be able to follow along. So now let's go ahead and add that reinvestment. So let's go into the analysis screen in Edge and talk about reinvestment. So when we go into the analysis screen, you'll see the button in the middle left, Adjust Reinvestment Strategy. So when we enter, click on that, you get another matrix. And this is where you can apply money not just to principal, you can also apply it to a savings account or an investment account. So we do have multiple options here to be able to show that reinvestment. So what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on that second product, refi with reinvestment, and right below that in the green, you'll see that monthly savings, which is $116. So what we're going to do is say, apply that same amount of money, so the savings of $116 plus the monthly payment is the exact same payment they're currently making. So if they take that savings, apply it to principal, they're now ahead of the game. So they have a little more than 24 years on paying that loan off versus the 27.75 years. So now you can show them side by side, a refinance with no reinvestment, and refinancing, keeping that same payment with the reinvestment of $116, you'll pay off that loan much faster. Also, just to point out, just to show you how these work, you can see you have an investment balance. If you're working with a borrower that has an investment account and you know that balance, you can put the balance in. What is that rate of return? And then you could always place that $116 savings in an investment account. Obviously, I'd remove it from the principal. And now they're taking that savings and reinvesting it at 2%. And at the end of 15 years, they'll have a little more than $24,000 saved. So we do have a way of doing reinvestment as well as applying it to principal. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is press OK. I'm going to advance the screen so that way my data saves. And let's take a look at the presentation. So now you'll notice over on the left-hand side where I was highlighting the term payment and cash out. Now we have an additional line, reduction payment. We see that $119. And we also see the change of that freedom point. So with that, you also can open up that More Info button. And you can see we have the payment breakdown, our closing costs, and our reinvestment. So with the reinvestment, you can always highlight those fields as well. And then I press OK. So what I also want to talk about is the savings over 60 months. So with that savings, let's click on that More Info button. So with the savings over 60 months, what we do is we take the interest and mortgage insurance if they had it, and then we add that closing point. So with that, you can see how much interest they're paying on their current mortgage, how much less they're going to pay if they refinance it, quite a bit, and then if they start applying principal reduction again, the less amount of interest they'll pay because the loan amount will be less. So with that, once we have all that information, you can really see how that 15-year really shaves down some interest, and then you can see their closing costs. So once we add those two together, both of those interest and fees are unrecoverable costs. Those are costs to loan, and that's what we do our comparison with. So with that, you can see all the difference in that dollar amount, in that net savings. So if you have any questions on the short-term area, again, short-term area is not taking the monthly savings and times it by 60. The savings is of unrecoverable cost of that interest and closing point. So with that, I also want to point out before we move away from the reinvestment strategy, I do want to point out a couple other items you can do with the reinvestment strategy, like lump sum payments and reinvesting MI. I know we don't have MI on here, but I want to be able to show you how you'll be able to do that through that analysis screen. Since we're already talking about reinvestment, let's talk about a little bit more. So with the adjust reinvestment strategy, there's a couple things you could do. You know, besides just placing a dollar amount, If you double-click on that field, you open up into another matrix. And with this is how you could reinvest mortgage insurance, or if you're doing a purchase, maybe they're not receiving, their house isn't closing, and they want to apply actually more money to a loan, maybe 12 months down the road. If that's ever the case, all you need to do is add a line item. What month do you want that lump sum payment? Say month 12, and let's add an additional $50,000 toward it. So on month 12, we're adding an additional $50,000, but then we want to go back on month 13 and place it back to the monthly savings. So with that, you can see how you can put line items, and you can change how much is being applied. But anytime you have a number that is like a one-time amount that's being applied, always remember the next month, reset it. Because otherwise, every month thereafter, we'll be applying $50,000 toward principal. You can always remove these line items with that delete button that I have down at the base. And if you have mortgage insurance, you'll see that it will provide you the mortgage, the cutoff month, and the dollar amount. So whatever those two figures are, you can reinvest in mortgage insurance just by going in here. Say month 88 was what it said. And then maybe my savings was, or my MI was $100. So I would want to reinvest my $100, but I also want to reinvest that savings, so it would actually be $216. So just see, and if I did that from month 88 there on, I'd be not only applying the $116 savings, but also the additional $100 that I was paying in mortgage insurance. So if you have any questions on the analysis screen a little bit more, we did talk about lump sum, and we talked about reinvesting mortgage insurance. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. So now what I want to do is bring up the mobile device. Do you have any questions on creating a refinance strategy, an annual mortgage review? Because at this point in time, you'd be able to add your video, talk about how beneficial it is to refinance, and then be able to send that link off to that past client of yours. Okay, let me bring over my mobile device. Okay. So with the mobile device, make sure you go to the your app store, download the Mortgage Coach app. There's also RateWatch. So if you haven't downloaded RateWatch, download our RateWatch app as well. Both use the same login ID as you logged into Edge. So now what you want to do is, we've taken a look at our presentation itself, and we talked about the different areas. So once I press I understand, you have the summary, monthly payment, short-term, long-term. But what if you want to make modifications or use Edge Highlight, Edge Live? What you can do is log into your account through the silhouette. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a silhouette. And let's go ahead and log out so you can see the full bit. So when you come in, you would need to just log in, put in your client, your email address, password, and then sign in. You'll notice there's a silhouette in the upper right-hand corner now. If you go to that silhouette, this is a way you can log out. Also, if you're going to be using your album for loading videos, sometimes people use it for follow-up only. Turn that on, you'll be able to access your video. So now let's go back to Mortgage Coach. So what we want to do is access our file under our Client section. So if we go to Client, you'll notice, let me go back to Edge real quick. A moment. And I'm going to the home screen. So with that, let's just bring up the app right back. There we go. What I wanted to point out is the Mortgage Coach app and then the home screen that you see on the desktop. You'll see it's just being listed in the exact same order right here. So the last one I accessed was the annual mortgage review. You can see it's the first one on my list for the desktop as well. So if I go ahead and click on that, I want to go into my total cost analysis, and I can view my report. If you want to record your video, just choose that one, or live reporting. So let's click on live reporting. What live reporting allows you to do is be able to walk through the presentation with your borrower and drive the presentation. So what I'm going to do is put a link up on the desktop. Let's go back to our presentation. I'm getting that shared link. And I'm going to open up a new tab. Just as a borrower clicked on the link on a desktop, they would open it. They would get the disclosure language that they just need to click I understand, and now they'll be able to view that presentation. It's easy to know if you have a borrower's copy versus your copy, because the borrower's presentation does not have that clear all button at the bottom to clear out all those highlights. So now let's bring over the mobile presentation now that we have the desktop version open. So with that, what I'm going to do is go into the summary area. And I am just going to highlight fields. You can see I'm highlighting the term, the loan amount on the refinance. And you'll notice that it copied or mimicked my actions on the desktop. So I'm driving that presentation with the different areas that I'm discussing. So you can see how it highlights. Now I want to go and move to the payment breakdown. So if I click on the payment breakdown here, down there, you'll notice that it's going to drive the presentation, and it just opened on the desktop. It opened that More Info button. So now we're following along. So if I wanted to talk about the P&I payments, I just highlighted those, showing them that I have property tax. Whoops, you could bring that back down. And then I can also, in the upper right-hand corner, click on Graph. So if we wanted to go and discuss the graph, then you'll notice that it highlighted it over here as well. So you can see how you could drive the presentation directly from your mobile, go into the monthly payment savings. If I want to go into more info, again, it just opened up my presentation. So that's how you could drive the presentation with your mobile device while you're talking on the phone, and be able to talk about the different areas with the borrower on their presentation. So you can drive it with the mobile, and you can also drive it with the desktop. And to do so, let me just shut this off real quick. And to do so, let me just show you how that works. If we go back to Edge, let's go back into our file. I'm going to go hover my mouse over presentation and go to preview. Always remember to put that quote date in there. Always want to make sure when those rates were good. And you'll see that you also have generate link. When you generate the link, this is where your links come from. So you could go ahead and copy it here. You can also use Edge Live. And Edge Live and the preview button work the same way. So let's go ahead and bring up our presentation here. It's the same as the preview because you can see the clear all button at the base. So let's go ahead and set up the screen so we can use Edge Live through the desktop. So you can see side by side, and I have the wrong presentation up here. Let's go back over here. There we go. So you can see side by side the presentations. And the difference is, if you look at the very bottom, you see the clear all button. If I clear out that, you can see all the highlights are clearing, and it cleared for the borrower as well. It also has cleared off my mobile app. Also right next to the Clear All button, you can see 3 viewers. This is telling me 3 people are viewing my presentation. I know I have 1 presentation open up on my screen. I also have the presentation open up on my mobile device, so that's 2. So there's someone else on the call that also is viewing the presentation. So that gives you an idea who's viewing the presentation. If you're talking to multiple people, quick way to know they are following along with you. So just as with, let's touch my mobile. So with that, you can see how you can just highlight, just like you did on the mobile. And what I'm doing is on the top column, left clicking, left click again, it removes the highlight. Left click on individual field, also highlight. Same thing, if you click again, it removes it. You drive the presentation as well by clicking on that More Info button. And you can see not only is it opening up on your presentation, you're driving it for your borrower as well. And the great way to be able to learn this, if you have 2 screens, put the loan officer's copy on one, the borrower's copy on the other, and just go through it and highlight and drive and get familiar with that presentation. That's a quick way of doing it. If you only have 1 screen, not a problem. Bring the Clear All button up, or your presentation, and then use your mobile device. Drive the presentation on your mobile device. That's your second piece. You can also put the link up on the screen and have drive the mobile and watch it on the desktop version. So that helps you if you only have 1 screen. Use your mobile as that second screen. Either drive from the mobile and change the highlight and change the presentation, or you could go ahead and drive from the desktop and see how the mobile reacts. So good way of training on both ends on that. So with that, that is pretty much the annual mortgage review presentation. Do you have any questions either on the annual mortgage review, or do you have any questions maybe pertaining to something else that you would want to answer? A different type of presentation? Are you stuck with fee templates? Where is it you might need some assistance right now? So if you can put those in the question area, and then we'll be able to do the last part more of a QA type style. So if you could go ahead and enter any kind of questions while I'm going back. I'll wait for those in there. I want to point out we did talk about fee templates and product templates. Want to point out the settings area is where those are saved for you. You won't see your organizational template, but any individual templates that you create are kept in the fee template tab under your settings. So you can see all the different fees templates, and you can see the very first one there is the one I created today. So if you ever have to modify your fees, depending on any updates, you could just go to your fee template, make those updates. You can also, if you want your fee templates on the organizational level updated, just email your admin or email us at support. If there's some updates you need, we can make those updates, contact your admin for you. So just let us know. And then you also have your product templates tab. So you can develop products, or if you save product templates, this is where they'll be located. I don't have any questions coming in, so does anyone want to know about second liens? Since we're doing refinance, do any of you do second liens? Do you resubordinate? How are you working with the second lien aspect? And we can focus on that if that's something that you would like. Okay, so what you would do is, let's go back into the annual mortgage review. So first we'll talk about second liens on a current mortgage. So if you do, I mean, it's basically that same information. You just answer yes. And then you can put in the first payment date. I'm going to say that they came together. Okay, 7/15. They had a first and a second at the same time. Okay, they came in with $50,000. Okay. It's just a normal second, and I have it at a 5% rate 30-year term, something basic. So what will happen, let's work on our fourth product. With the fourth product, let me go back one screen. Let's add another product. We'll just say first and second, and let's see how this works. So with that, before I had this, I already had it pre-built. So let's go ahead and press yes. And now what you notice is the base loan amount carried over, let's see, not only the outstanding balance here, it also carried over my $50,000 in my second lien. If you ever want to resubordinate, you would need to put this back at the 192. I'm just going to level it. If you ever want to resubordinate, a million, you would just put that assumption, whatever that outstanding balance was, and this is no cash out. So if they did this, maybe they had a different rate for that first lien, so it's dropping it down to 3.625. They're going to do a 360 term. But their second lien, they want to keep it open. So what you would do is on the very third screen, if you're resubordinating, see how it went ahead and said no? If you put yes, it will allow you to resubordinate. Let me do one thing. We're going to start out copy from that current mortgage to bring all your data over. So when you do, you just want to put it back to refinance, reduce that amount, and then you can see how you have that second lien. So if you want to resubordinate it, keep it marked as yes. You can see how that second lien data carries over, existing second. And if they're rolling it over into the first, you just say no, and it removes that second lien from the current mortgage. So you can use that copy from, bring over the data from the current mortgage, and then you can either adjust depending. If you're going to have cash out, you would just increase that base loan amount, say $50,000. If you're cashing out $50,000, you would just increase that amount. And then if you're ever resubordinating a second lien, just go ahead and keep it marked yes, and that data for that second lien will carry over. And if I don't want to, because this is a little odd for the other presentation, I'm going to remove it from my presentation. So if I hover my mouse over presentation, choose select report, you can see all your products listed. I'm going to unmark the first and second lien, and that will remove it from my presentation. So as soon as I advance my screen, you can see how I have that first and second lien up for right now. By unmarking it, it's going to remove this first and second from my product. So you can see how you can add and subtract products. So say you're working with the borrower, and they know they're not going to use that 15-year. It's great to be able to show them. They definitely know they don't want to engage in that. So what you could do is remove that 15-year product as well. So then they're only looking at the product that they're going to select, and then they can see that reinvestment piece as well. So that's how you can add and remove products. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the call. If there's any questions, I'll be staying around if there's anything specific that you want to learn. Otherwise, we're going to wrap the call. If there is a particular presentation style that you want to be able to see on next Thursday's training, email us at support. We develop all different types of presentations. If you're struggling on a certain area, again, email us at support, and we'll be able to address those questions in our next training Thursday. Thank you for attending, and remember, go to our calendar of the events and see the different trainings that we offer throughout the week. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week.